Yes, We Can podcast. I'm excited to share with you my guest today, Brett Gilliland. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Excited to be here.
We just, he had me on his podcast a couple weeks ago. It just launched yesterday.
That's right.
So I'm excited for you to share your story
Yes.
with me and all our watchers here today.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's start with, who are you?
I am Brett Gilliland,
Okay.
and I am the founder and CEO of Visionary Wealth Advisors, and a firm. We got 8 office locations around the country, but based here in St. Louis and the Illinois side, where you came to the podcast, and also host of the Circuit of Success podcast. And my wife and I founded a charity called Swing for Hope, which is cancer research.
Yeah.
Which I know is near and dear to your heart. So
yeah,
that's me.
Yeah, we've got a lot in common. I love it.
We do.
So I want to joke about real quick how when Brett sent me his address for the podcast, I was like, Illinois, it's going to take me so long. And it was like such a quick trip, but it's so funny because I'm not from here. And
Right.
I honestly, nothing brings me to Illinois. It was a beautiful little area and a beautiful building. And
we always joke that people in Missouri think you got to go across customs to get to us folks in Illinois.
Yeah,
but
it's
not
true. Cross customs. Yeah, totally. So why don't you share with us kind of how you got to this point? So you're married, you've got children, but I know you've been through some struggles, which that's what this podcast is all about, right? Turning pain or struggles into purpose.
Yeah.
And I know who you are and where you are now, and everything is looking like it's going amazing. And I'd like you to talk about that stuff too. But if you can kind of walk us through, how you got to this point.
Yeah, I think I got to this point by constantly challenging myself and stepping outside of my comfort zone.
Okay.
And I now call it your comfort zone callus. Like, I play a lot of golf, so you get some calluses on your hand, right? And I think that we can do that in our lives as well. As we like to stay in that warm, cozy little comfort zone, right?
Totally.
And as you try to break through it, you start to build this callus. And most of us, we don't go out of our comfort zone. It's just
I love
not
that
human
analogy.
nature. Yeah. And so that's where I think has helped me get there. And mine was, anybody that knows me from when we grew up, I was very anxious. I would get sick before, big games, and I'd get sick as a young professional before meetings and all this stuff. And I think that the more I've opened up and talked about it, the more people I have found that deal with it as well. Because I think it's easy to, on social media and different places, to look like everything's just perfect. But if you don't talk about it, then I think you're holding it in, right? And my wife, challenged me one time and said, it doesn't have to be like that, right? And I always thought it just was. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
And so the anxiousness, and again, it got in the way professionally, got in the way personally.
So she was saying, you don't have to be anxious and feel like this all the time. Is that what she was saying?
Yeah.
And one other thing I want to note too is I feel, I'm a Christian, I believe in God, and everybody believes in different things, but I feel like God calls on us to be vulnerable and share our stories because we're all in this together, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, once I started opening up about postpartum anxiety, the floodgates opened, and all of a sudden everybody else was like, me too. No one had ever said a word to me about it before.
Well, it's funny. I remember what they call it, trunk or treat. You ever had that in kids' school, right? You open the trunks and the parents sit around handing out candy. And this mom who I didn't hardly even know when my kids were little, for some reason we started talking about it, and I shared my story, and it was like really eye-opening for me and for her to share. And I don't know, it just, from then on, it's like, you know what, I'm going to start sharing my story more and talk about that. It's okay. Everybody deals with stuff, and that's okay, but you got to step outside of your comfort zone, and you got to work on it, right? You got to be a student of the game of whatever you're struggling with. And so I learned about anxiety. I learned about meditation. I learned about, how to breathe in the moment and when you're having that stuff. And I always say this on other podcasts is I learned to talk trash to it, and I learned to make it my friend. And I didn't fly for 8 years because of a bad flight, and then anxiety stepped in with it. And
seriously,
I've been flying for now 2.5 years.
Like getting on planes, not actually flying the plane.
Getting on an airline,
a
passenger on a plane. And my wife and kids were all on a plane. It was a bad deal, and I made a deal with God, and I said, look, if you just get me and my family through this, and it probably wasn't that big of a deal, but I was making it a big deal. But everybody was crying, freaking out. The oxygen thing came down. Yeah, it was above New York City. Yeah, it was pretty bad. And
what year was that?
That was 2013, I believe. Yeah, somewhere right in there. And so, or 2014 actually. But I was also going through a lot professionally, and so I was. As my success was going like this, my job satisfaction was going like that.
Yeah.
Not the work we were doing for clients, but just what I was doing and what we were building. And so there was just a lot going on at that point. And my point to the flying thing is, even on Saturday morning, I was flying home, and there's some anxiousness started to kick in.
Mm-hmm.
And I shared this with my kids. I was like, look, I started smiling on the airplane. I embraced it. I knew it was anxiety.
Which is
and
lying.
It's
anxiety
lying.
Is lying.
Yep.
Yes.
And I talk trash. I love to talk trash to my buddies.
Tell me about this. Like, how do you talk trash to anxiety?
Well, probably some words you can't say here. And so I was like, dude, listen, I know what you're doing. This isn't going to work with me. I've too much history. I've seen this movie before. I know the ending, and this isn't going to work today. And I sat there and I kind of just put my hands down, and I just smiled, and I breathed, and I pictured the airplane flying at a nice pace with no turbulence and a nice landing in this. Like, I visually saw the city of St. Louis from above. I saw the arch.
I love it.
I knew we were going down 70, and I knew right where we were going to land.
It
was smooth sailing. And then I started watching a show on my iPad and forgot about it.
Amazing. And can we talk about real quick? So I love that you're a male on here talking about anxiety, because a lot of people don't, and males in particular oftentimes don't talk about their emotions, right? Because you're tough. But let's talk about how, especially as a professional, because I started feeling anxiety as a young professional as well. I manage mine by running, doing marathons, triathlons, all that. And everyone does, has different coping mechanisms. But can we talk about how debilitating anxiety can be? Because some people don't experience anxiety. Most of us do. But truly, it can be very debilitating and paralyzing. Right? Like you said, your career was going great. Same with mine, growing. And but like the anxiety, it's crippling, and it's all a lie, right?
It's all a lie. Yeah, I always say the fear, right, we always have in our minds, and I've asked this on every one of my podcasts, how many of the fears that I've ever put in my own mind have actually blown up to the magnitude I put them in my mind to be? They were zero, right? And I know we talked about that on my podcast, but it's just, I think we do, and it's false evidence is appearing real. That's what fear stands for, right? And so when you look at the false evidence, my brain's telling me something that's false, but it appears real. That is fear, right? That's what it is. And I think you have to understand that it's not, and you have to look back throughout your life and understand that how many fears have we had, those of us that have those fears, how many of those have we had? Thousands of them, right? And so then it's like, okay, at what point do you start betting on yourself and believing in yourself that fear that your body is telling you is not real?
Right.
And they come up at the weirdest spots. Like you can be doing something fun.
Totally.
And it's, oh my gosh, now I'm having some anxiety. And it's just learning to cope with it and deal with it.
You're triggered by something. Can we talk about what happened once you got to the point where you're like, I got to seek a medical professional? Like, can we talk about at that point?
Yeah. So my medical journey through that was I needed confirmation that something worse wasn't wrong. And so I went and did the executive physical up at Mayo Clinic.
Which I highly recommend if anybody's listening, the executive, and you can talk more about this.
It's amazing.
When we were in Toronto, Kyla and I lived in Toronto, all the executives do that up there.
Yeah.
They go get it done. It's like $5,000. I don't know how much it is at Mayo.
Yeah, it was something like that. I don't remember. It was a big number, but I needed that confirmation of like, okay, I'm not dying of brain cancer.
Correct.
I'm not having this.
Or having a heart attack.
Yeah. Well, the first time when it happened, I was in a meeting with a client and another one of our advisors, and this rush went through my body, and I thought I was having a heart attack.
Which, by the way, is very common.
Yes.
In the ER, so many people go to the ER thinking they're having a heart attack, and it's an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
It's scary.
So I was putting water in my face, and then then the real anxiety then sets in. You're like, holy crap, what is this?
Yeah.
And I drove myself to the hospital. Probably not a good idea if you think you're having a heart attack. Just put that disclaimer.
I would recommend finding somebody else to drive you.
And and also when you tell them you think you're having a heart attack, you get in the emergency room like that. Like, there's no waiting, right? You have your leg cut off and they let you sit there for 3 hours. But
totally.
So I got in and did all these tests and it was nothing. I'm like, no, you don't understand. And then I woke up. The next day happened to be New Year's Eve, and I woke up and had what I found out was vertigo. but I was spinning for like 4 hours.
Were you in the hospital or
no,
you at home?
I was at home. They're
Okay.
like, you're fine. There's no heart attack. There's nothing. I'm like,
did they say it's anxiety, or they were like, you're
no,
fine?
they're like,
go
you're
home.
fine. We don't know what it is. Wear this heart monitor for 4 days or whatever. And so I was doing that, and then I woke up the next morning, had vertigo, so I'm spinning for like 4 hours. It was awful. So
Come
I'm
on.
like, and then that's when I scheduled the Mayo Clinic thing. I did everything under the sun that you could do, brain scans, eyeball scans, to breathing, you name it, we did it. And for 2.5 days, and everything was fine. And so it was a local doctor
Here.
here in town that told me that I was having anxiety.
Was it just a primary care?
Yeah, it's actually a guy that I know socially as well, and I tell him still to this day, I'm like, man, you helped me set up on this journey. He said some choice words that more as a friend, not as a medical professional, and told me what I needed to do, and either like quit your job or toughen up, basically, is what he said, but in a different way.
Or address your anxiety.
Yeah, and so it definitely wasn't like toughen up, don't just be a man, right? It wasn't like that. It was, but understand this is what it is.
Is he a primary care physician, a functional medicine doctor?
Yeah.
Okay, because I have some clients right now that I'm talking to about going to find a functional medicine doctor, because a lot of family practice primary care physicians either A, just prescribe medication, which may be different for your, or B, they're like, you'll be fine.
Yeah. His was more of educate yourself on it. And I never have taken medicine for it. And that's when I started learning about meditation and understanding what it is. And once I understood this is the thing, okay, now I can deal with it.
Totally.
Right. Versus
knowledge is power.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I said earlier, be a student of the game. Now I started studying it. Now I know the heart palpitations are normal. It's not a heart attack happening, even though sometimes your brain still can be like, oh crap.
But is this one the big thing?
Yeah.
The big one?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you saw your buddy, also a physician. He told you to study anxiety.
Yeah.
And so you started meditating, which I always recommend people do. When do you meditate, by the way?
Usually in the morning. I do it at night before bed, or like actually while I'm going to bed. I do a meditation app. I actually just use the Peloton app now, and have that on, and fall asleep to that and breathe, and then I do it in the morning. And look, I'm not like I'm saying I do it religiously every single morning, but I do it more times than not.
Of course. And I'd like to point out here, because a lot of people are like, I don't really have time to meditate. Brett, I mean, let's talk about what you do. You have a family.
Yeah, 4 kids.
4 kids. He's a husband, an entrepreneur. You own a wealth management company. Yep. I mean, you own the building. Like, you got a lot going on, and you still find time.
That's right.
To meditate.
Yeah.
Because it truly doesn't even take that long, right?
No.
So I'm like you. I meditate at night too.
Yeah. It just helps me kind of control. And I've also, in my studying, I've learned that when you wake up, we're the most anxious.
Our cortisol levels are the highest.
The highest. So our oxygen level is the lowest getting to our brain, right? Our heart rate is the highest, right when we wake up. So that's when we're our most anxious state. And that's when most people wake up and you're anxious, right? So for me, it's like, if I can just, even if I don't do anything formal, it's just like, okay, I woke up, now let me take 10 or 15 deep breaths, right?
You do like diaphragmatic breathing in through your nose, hold it at the top and out through your mouth.
Yep, exactly right. And I've just, and I'm I've never been diagnosed with ADD, but my brain is going a million miles a minute, like a lot of people's. And so for me to sit down and somebody's like, oh, these people like 20, 30 minutes, an hour of meditation. I'm like, I've never done that. Like, I cannot sit still for that long. And so I'm a 5 to 10 minute type person. And then I find myself to be a better breather. And I find that I was never, like, as a kid, I couldn't hold my breath for very long, and I still can't, but I think I've gotten better at that just because of deep breathing and training your lungs to be successful lungs that we want to have to be efficient.
Well, I think your story is really amazing and can speak to a lot of people, because, we're all busy, right? But like in your scenario, you're an extremely, what word am I looking? Like, successful businessman, right? And you've gotten family, and you have all these things coming at you, and to be able to recognize and do these things that are free, by the way.
Right.
Meditation, it's free.
Yep.
Download an app, free. And if everybody would just meditate 5 to 10 minutes, our world would change.
Different.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about, I'll tell you this quick story. So when I was in medical sales, I was stressed a bunch, driving on the road. And Dan Rathers had that book, 10% Happier,
Yeah.
and he recommends meditating. And I remember listening to his meditation while I had no clue, while I'm driving, and I'm like, this is for the birds. I changed it. I had no idea. And even after I had postpartum anxiety, my therapist, that's what she said. She's like, have you tried meditating? And I'm like, listen, lady,
Right.
I've got so much flying through my head. Like, I'm afraid, like, no, I don't have time to meditate.
Right.
And now it's
part of your life.
Part of my life.
Yeah.
And
I even do it like at bedtime with my now 10-year-olds, my
Same.
fourth boy. Like we'll do it. And
Yeah.
It's I think as a dad, if I can give them one thing to learn that it's okay as a guy to like to meditate and talk about it, like it's helped me so much. Like why would I not want my kids to do it?
Of course. I do it with my kids too.
Yeah.
They ask for it. So that's a gift, I think,
yeah,
for our children. And they do more of what we do than what we say.
Yeah.
So they're seeing us. So what about,
sure.
Do you exercise? Is that a form, like a coping mechanism for you? Is that something you like doing?
I don't. Let me say, I do exercise. Do I like doing it? No. For some reason, it has been probably the biggest struggle in my life.
Really?
As enjoying exercise.
Can I help you?
You might have, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I would love to help you find something you love.
Yeah. I mean, I've got all the equipment, we've got all the stuff, and I'll go in spurts to where I'll work out like every day for like 8 months. And then I'll go like, a few months where I still probably work out 2 to 4 times a week on the bad weeks. But I don't find the passion for it like I wish I had. I think it's awesome. I think it's amazing. I love people that, I get up at 5:30 every morning and I work out. I try that, and then I'm pissed off by like the second week because I'm like, why am I getting up at 5:30 every morning? This sucks. Just being really honest. I'm sorry.
Not for you.
Yeah, it's not for me. So I don't remember what your question was, but it's not been my coping mechanism.
Okay.
It's been more of my coping mechanism has been the meditation and journaling.
Okay. Journaling is huge too.
Writing things down. If I get bad news at work, great. That it's terrible. Have my pity party for a couple minutes, and then I go straight to my journal and start writing down like, okay, how are we going to execute to get out of this thing, whatever this bad news is, and that's what I've found throughout my whole career is if I can go then create a game plan. And then I'm disciplined enough to where I just then have to execute the game plan. And I show up every day. I call it Focus 90 planning. The first 90 minutes of my day starts after I take my kids to school, or my now one kid to school, everybody else is on their own. That my first 90 minutes, I don't have meetings. It's doing the 4 or 5 things that I have to do to win the day. And then when I win the day, I win the morning, I can win the day, the week, the month, the quarter, the year.
Amazing.
Right?
And you have, I want to talk about this later on, but you have like, what do you have? Like you sell a schedule?
Oh, I have a journal.
A journal,
yeah. I have a journal through Amazon called Achieving a Future Greater Than Your Past Journal. And it's got all that stuff in there. And it's every day.
Achieving your future.
Achieving a future greater than your past. A
future greater than your past. I'm going to have to order that. We'll put that link at the bottom of this so people can see it and go to Amazon. Super easy. Okay, now I really want to talk about your cancer research funding organization.
Yes. Swing for Hope, FORE.
Okay.
4, because that's what you scream when you're golfing if you hit it somebody, right?
Yes.
So that's what my wife and I founded in 2007. Her mom, grandma, and 2 of her aunts were diagnosed with breast cancer within, I think, 6 or 7 month period.
Are you kidding?
No. It was awful. And we lost one of the aunts. The grandma's now deceased, but it wasn't because of that. So, and then my mother-in-law, man, she is amazing. She has been battling since 2003. Here we are in 2024.
Wow.
And, she's been, I don't know, 60 different drugs. I mean, it's just amazing. She keeps moving. And so that was the catalyst to start Swing for Hope.
Yeah.
We started it, had our first golf tournament. 6 weeks later, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. He's now been diagnosed with 2 different types of cancer.
Come on.
Yeah. And then a year after our charity started, her dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And then my mom had some stomach lining cancer stuff earlier this year that they thankfully went in and got it, and it was fine. So we're 4 for 4 on parents. And then now with, friends and family and aunts and uncles and stuff like that, it's just continually impacts our life. And so that's what we do.
I can feel my anxiety in my chest right now.
Yeah.
So you hold a golf tournament. That's what it's about, right? And when is this golf tournament?
It's usually the Monday after Father's Day, but this year we tried it on a Friday, and it was very successful. So we're going to continue with Friday. So it's usually in June. So swingforhope.org is our website. people can find it. But we also do a thing called Rock for Hope, where we love music, and so we had a band in from Nashville, Tennessee. It was incredible. And it's just, as you know, the people just show up, and it's the same amazing people that write checks, give of their time. Our board is amazing, and just we're just so blessed with people in our lives. And so we give 50% of the money to Siteman Cancer Center to do research grants, as you know, all this stuff. And then the other 50% is referrals from people in our community that say, so-and-so need help with this thing.
I love that.
And then my wife, who works her tail off on this stuff, she will physically write a check to say, charter for your cable company or to the mortgage company. And so we know it's actually going to what it's going for. And there's a whole referral process and a form you got to fill out. And it's a referral from a friend of a friend. And so that's probably been one of the biggest impacts, is to see that work being done.
Amazing, because and coming from a house that was struck by cancer in a big way. Luckily, my husband was in finance, so we were okay. But a lot of families are not okay. They go bankrupt. They lose their house. Maybe they lose their car. Their income goes away most of the time, or at least half. And so there is a big need for that as well, because these treatments are incredibly expensive. Yes, insurance covers some, but a lot of times not. And for us, I was in the hospital with Kyle all the time. I had to have childcare. So Kyle's treatment cost about $2 million with insurance to keep him alive for 17 months. And we even had compassionate use of the drugs the last 12 months. So it cost $2 million, insurance company, us, stuff they wrote off. But that's not including our loss of income and the amount of money we spent on childcare. So luckily we're in a financial position that I'm still standing. My kids and I are still standing. But like you said, a lot of people aren't. So I think that's amazing. So I want to know about, I want to come to these events. I want to know more.
Absolutely.
We need to work together because, like you said, I work really hard to get money into the hands of the Siteman Cancer Center researchers as well. Okay, let's talk about your podcast.
Yes.
When you launched that, who you've had on, what's your plan there?
Yeah, so we launched it in February of 2017, I believe. I just had my 400th interview, which was cool.
I'm sorry, what?
400th interview. Yeah, so that was pretty awesome.
Whoa.
I think you were like 397 or something. Okay. I just got the thing you signed.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
That's whole new. Yeah, that'd be a lot of autographs, and some of them are virtually, so they can't autograph it. But I was sitting on my couch on Christmas of 2016, and I listened to podcasts, and I'd had a little red wine, so I had a little more courage. I texted a few of my buddies that are former athletes and said, "Hey, would you guys come on my podcast?" And they're like, "Yeah, you want to do it like next week?" And I'm like, "Oh crap! I don't have a podcast. I don't even have a microphone. I have no idea
how to." This is
just an idea that's escalated. And then so I said, "You know what? It's the holidays. Let's just push it off to the end of January." That was really buying me time to go to YouTube and watch videos on how the heck to do a podcast, because there wasn't as many podcasts back then when I started. And so learned how to do it, and they were terrible early on, like the audio and video.
Of course.
Well, I did audio only for a while, and then because video wasn't really a thing, and then I started doing video, and I would accidentally move the wire, and then the camera would be half your face, and it was embarrassing. And so, but again, you got to get outside your comfort zone,
and that's how you learn,
right? And you learn. And so now it's much, much better. You saw our crew and our studio, and but just I call it my weekly therapy.
Yeah,
and you meet amazing people like yourself, and these athletes and business owners. And I had a guy once that was blind, and he climbed Mount Everest and kayaked the Grand Canyon.
Wow!
All by snapping of your fingers on which side to walk on the trail. Is how he climbed it. And it's there's just so many amazing people. So, our firm's mission is to help you achieve a future greater than your past. And if we can do that by learning from all these other amazing people, yes, we're going to do it by helping you with your money. But if we can also help you on the mental side, be a better parent, a better loved one, whatever, right? That's the whole mission and the goal for that.
Yeah, it's like the holistic approach, right? The whole person. I love that. And I think that's what we need. It's more of what we need, right?
Yeah.
We live in such a siloed way, where we're focused on just our lives or just one portion. And it's having it all in balance, I think, is how we are successful.
Absolutely.
So for your bit, you're a financial advisor, essentially.
Yep.
Wealth manager.
Wealth management advisor.
Wealth management advisor. So people listening, they come to you if they have a certain amount of assets that they want to help man, like why when
Yeah, so we take people off the treadmill of life, and
okay,
so there's a lot of people that can manage money out there, and so
right,
we certainly do that. And we do a very good job of that. But I think it's also the other aspects of life as well. So it's your retirement planning, but it's your life planning. Like again, how do you become a better parent, and what are your goals that you all want to achieve in the next 90 days or the
right,
next 9 years,
right,
right? And so we get really focused on those things, and then through accountability and education and analyzation, we can help them get to where they want to go and have that future greater than their past. And so yeah, we manage money, but we also manage emotions and fear and
yeah,
greed and
the
and
whole
the whole
picture.
picture of all the stuff that we do.
So do you have to have a certain amount of money in the bank to come to you? Because a lot of people ask, especially widows,
Yeah.
I don't have a financial advisor. Do I need one?
Yeah.
And do you have to have a certain amount?
Yeah, there are some firms out there that will say that, and so we have 40 advisors that around in our offices. We have, like I said, 8 office locations, and so um, some advisors around the country wanted to have that a certain amount of money, but a lot of our folks, we work on referrals only,
Mm-hmm.
and so if it's a friend of yours, it's a friend of ours, right?
Mm-hmm.
So would it be great if every person walked in with millions and millions and millions of dollars? Sure, that'd be awesome. But at the same time, that's just not who we are, right?
Yeah.
To our core, our values, our trust, respect, humility.
Right.
You look at those things, like we have to serve that human being. And so thankfully, we have a great team of people around us and great advisors that somebody at Visionary Wealth Advisors would work with that person.
And we don't have to live way out there in Illinois.
No. Well, our local office is in Brentwood,
Okay.
right at 40 and Brentwood Boulevard, right there in that glass building. And but yeah, Overland Park, Kansas, Jackson, Missouri, Springfield, Missouri.
Awesome.
3 in Illinois and 1 in Florida.
Yeah, and
but we have clients all over the country.
I feel like I'm cheating on Edward Jones, but there's enough out there.
There is.
Because my husband worked at Edward Jones and was a partner, and my financial advisor is through Edward Jones. But a lot of people, middle class, maybe don't have a financial advisor. And so I want to kind of break down that barrier so people know that it is approachable for everybody. You only make money if we make money.
That's right.
Right. So you come to I'll call it a financial advisor just for lack of better terms,
totally
wealth
fine.
Manager, because some people are like, I don't have wealth, but essentially you just help set it up. So, there's a lot of things, that we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, 529 plans for our kids.
Right.
Retirement. Like, there's people in my family that they don't have a financial advisor and they're making decent amount of money. And I'm like, you got to have a professional to help you, because it's the same reason people come to me as a health and wellness coach.
Yeah.
The smartest people, I'm right now, my newest client is a predominant attorney that's crazy successful, but he doesn't know how to eat.
Right.
No one taught him. Right. And so he comes to me because that's my expertise.
That's right.
And so you don't have to have $1 million in the bank to find an advisor.
That's right.
And it's super helpful, right, to help us figure out, all right, what are our goals financially? Maybe we don't have goals.
Yeah.
But to help figure out when we retire.
I'd say that we can help shortcut the process too, because you got to think, I've been doing this for 24 years.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of stuff from 30-year-olds up to 70, 80-year-olds, right? So we know not everything you're going to be thinking, but we know the fears that people have that are getting ready to retire.
And the mistakes people have made.
Yes. So we can take that and then give that to the 35, 45, 50-year-old that's not working with an advisor and help them get to where they want to get to as efficiently as possible.
And you meet with them, you sit down, it's an actual human.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a financial advisor, I highly suggest it, because it is very.
I would agree.
So how do they find you and your people?
VisionaryWealthAdvisors.com is the easiest way. And then you can go on there. Our vision, we call them visionary. We actually call them visionaries, not wealth management advisors, but they're our visionaries. And you can click on there and find a face that you like and give them a call, or call me, and we can point you in the right direction.
And they'll meet live. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. What else? Is there anything else you want to talk about today? Anything else on your mind?
It's a big question.
Well, you got a mic, camera.
I would say the one thing, I think busy people, we don't stay in the moment enough. Yeah. And I think that I take a lot of pictures, and I'm a picture junkie and videos, my kids, when vacation, stuff like that. And an exercise I started about 3 or 4 years ago it's in the journal, in the back of the journal. So today's a big day because it's October 1st.
Yeah.
And so this afternoon I have time on my calendar to plan the next 90 days. And it's exciting because
the final quarter
of the year. And so I'll plan the next 90 days and I'll create experiences with my wife and kids. And it's because one of this is I will go through on my phone and I will look at every picture I took in June, July, August, and September, right? Those 3 months, I will look at every single picture and every single video I took. And I will write it down in the journal of what I did. Hey, I had Kira on my podcast. I went to lunch with my wife on a day date. I did blah, blah, right, whatever. I played golf at Pinehurst. Whatever it is, I literally write it down, every single picture I wrote. And then I can visualize and stay in the moment and be thankful for what the last 90 days just gave me.
That.
And then the last part of the exercise is what experiences and will I create and with who? And so I will then go in and create the next 90 days of what experiences I can find. So I will go look at like what concerts are in town. Like I have no idea who's coming to town the next 3 months, but I will find that out this afternoon. And if I like them, we'll go to a concert. And there's obviously things that just pop up on your calendar that happen that are fun, but life is short, as you know, right? And we got to create these experiences with our loved ones. And that would just be the thing I would say. Look at your phone, look at the pictures, and then on purpose, create things that are going to happen the next 90 days. Because it's really hard to think 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. But 90 days, I can find that out, right? What's coming to town?
What are you going to do to create experiences and really live life?
Yeah.
Now, have you always been like this? Or is it because of all the cancer that's hit your family that, you know what I mean? Like,
no, I wasn't. That's why I started doing it. I was like, man, life is really good. But I'm the guy that's like, and I think a lot of successful people, you talked about the attorney client. We're always thinking about the next thing, and you're not in the moment, right? And I'm guilty of that, and still this day I'm guilty of that. It's like, all right, what's next? All right, what else can we build? How can we do this? How can we do that? And it's like it's helped me through the meditation, but through this slowing down on my phone, it's helped me slow down and be in the moment more, because I know that when I'm in this experience was created 30, 60, 90 days ago with a pen and a piece of paper and time, right? We're not here by accident. We're at this event, whatever it is, because we made it happen. And that's where I think people don't slow down enough. And I always say you got to slow down to speed up, is we don't slow down enough and write down the things that are important and then go make them happen. We just don't. We don't schedule it, right? How many times have you said to somebody, oh, we should go grab lunch, we should go grab dinner? And we just say those things, right?
Oh, I say to people, like, you have to give me a few dates and times or it won't happen.
It does not happen.
Yeah.
And so that's what this exercise does. So it's a long-winded answer to your question.
No, it's great. I mean, and it's like you're practicing gratitude for the last 90 days, the last 3 months. Gratitude is huge.
Yeah. And in the journal, you have to write it down every day, what you're thankful for. That's the first thing you do to start your day, is write that down.
I need one of these journals.
Yes. I should have brought one. What was I thinking?
What were you thinking?
Thanks.
Wow, I encourage everybody to check that out. Because again, I think if we all, if we really do want to see the change we want to see in the world, starts at home. It starts with us, right? And if we all practice gratitude instead of wake up and like you said, our cortisol levels are high, worry about what's happening, and say being grateful, I just think our world will change, and it takes one person at a time.
That's right.
Right?
For sure.
Okay, so what about your kids? Your wife? How long have you guys been married? Let's do your personal side.
So let's see, we got married in October of 2001. Okay. So we're coming up on 23 years this month, actually.
Yes.
So October 27th. We married 23 years. My oldest is 19, is a freshman in college, junior in high school, a freshman in high school, and a fifth grader. So that's my world. That's what I do. I go to work, I go home, and I sometimes get the time to change, and then I go to a sporting event.
Totally. Now, do you put your phone down when you're with do you try to, no?
I could be better.
Okay. We could all be better. But I'm just wondering, it's something I'm working on, is that my kids are in school full time. So from 8 to 3, I'm allowed to work. I'm allowed to look at my phone. I'm allowed to do everything, but then I try to put my phone down.
Yeah. I usually have it in my pocket. I mean, I'm not like when they're.
But I mean, like.
No. If they're talking, I mean, I'm engaged in talking to them. And like my 17-year-old last night is like, Dad, you want to watch the end of the? We went like everybody went a different direction last night, and then we kind of all got home at 9:00. And he's like, "Do you want to watch some football?" I'm like, "My junior in high school is asking me to watch some football. Yeah, I'm in." And so there, I don't have the phone out. I just set it on the coffee table or whatever, and
and you watch
some football. It was awesome.
Yeah, and you guys do family dinners. How do you keep it all intact? Because
Well, it's hard. I mean, we do family dinners when we can. I mean, with 4 boys, but 3 at home. It's busy. I mean, I feel like we're getting into our less busy life because when they were all at home and all little, they were in 1,000 different sports, and having drivers that gets easier, right? But it's hard. So yeah, we do make though a family dinner a priority
when you're able to.
When we're able to.
Thanks again for listening. We'll talk to you guys soon.